One of these engines left thousands of dollars in deferred maintenance hiding beneath perfectly normal operation. Another looked almost untouched at 200,000 miles. And the smallest, cheapest engine in this test came closer to winning than anyone on the bench was prepared to see. I've been working on Fords for over 20 years. We pulled 3 of the most common F-150 engines at 200,000 miles, put them on the teardown bench under identical conditions, and let the data tell us what the spec sheet never will. 3 engines, 3 very different stories. Let's get into it. Act 1. The 3.5 EcoBoost. When F-150 owners argue about engines, the 3.5 EcoBoost is usually at the center of that argument, and for good reason. This is Ford's flagship F-150 engine. Twin turbocharged, direct injected, one of the top tow-rated options in the entire lineup. The engine Ford put in the Raptor. The engine that proved a V6 could outpull a V8. The engine that changed how Ford thought about the F-150 when it arrived in 2011. Going into this test, the 3.5 was the expected winner, the favorite, the engine everyone who tows seriously puts their money behind. At 200,000 miles, the teardown showed us something the spec sheet doesn't prepare you for: the intake valves. The first finding was the intake valves. And if you've never seen what direct injection does to intake valves over 200,000 miles, what we found on this engine will change how you think about maintenance. The 3.5 uses direct injection. That means fuel sprays directly into the combustion chamber, bypassing the intake valves entirely. There is no fuel washing over the valve faces the way port injection does. Instead, crankcase vapors coat the back of the valves with oil mist on every cycle. That oil mist bakes into carbon deposits. Over 200,000 miles, the accumulation was significant. Thick, hardened carbon coating the valve faces and restricting airflow in ways the engine computer can't fully compensate for. This isn't a surprise to engineers. It's a documented characteristic of direct injection platforms going back to their introduction. What does surprise owners is the cost to fix it. Walnut blasting, the process shops use to remove the carbon, runs between $700 and $1,100 depending on where you take it. Without that service, airflow restriction builds progressively, idle quality degrades, and the engine loses efficiency it never fully recovers. That's the first cost waiting behind 200,000 miles of normal operation on this engine. The cam phasers. The second finding was the cam phasers. The variable valve timing system on the 3.5 uses oil pressure to actuate the phaser assemblies, small mechanical components that adjust cam timing based on driving conditions. At 200,000 miles under boost load, the wear on those phasers was consistent with high cycle operation under pressure. The symptom most owners recognize is the cold start rattle, a brief diesel-like clatter in the first seconds after startup that disappears as oil pressure builds and the phasers stabilize. The phasers on this engine were in the range where most experienced technicians would recommend service. Phaser replacement on a 3.5 EcoBoost runs approximately $2,500 to $5,000 or more, depending on how far the wear has progressed and what associated components need attention at the same time. That's the second cost. The turbochargers. The third finding was the turbochargers. Both units showed bearing wear consistent with sustained boost operation across 200,000 miles. The primary contributing factor was heat soak after shutdown. When this engine gets pushed hard on a tow, sustained boost, elevated temperatures, high load, and then shuts off immediately, oil circulation stops while the bearings are still at operating temperature. The oil trapped in the bearing passages breaks down from the heat and deposits on the bearing surfaces. Repeat that pattern over 200,000 miles, and the wear accumulates. Both turbos on this engine were in the range where a technician would note them as approaching service. That's the third cost. And here is what changes the picture entirely. These 3 findings don't arrive separately. At 200,000 miles on a heavily used 3.5 EcoBoost, the carbon service, the phaser replacement, and the turbo bearing condition all converge at the same time. Carbon service at $700 to $1,100. Phaser replacement at $2,500 to $5,000 or more. Turbo bearing service at $1,000 to $3,000 or more. 3 separate expensive problems arriving together at the same mileage. The 3.5 EcoBoost at 200,000 miles is not a failed engine. It is a complex engine that has been working hard, and the teardown shows what that complexity costs over time. The most capable engine in this test showed the most accumulated maintenance cost by the time it reached the bench. The favorite going into this test showed the most were coming out of it. Act 2. The 5.0 Coyote V8. The 5.0 Coyote V8 is the engine F-150 buyers choose when they want something uncomplicated. No turbochargers, no boost pressure, no charge pipes, no intercoolers, no twin-turbo plumbing running through the engine bay. A naturally aspirated V8 that makes its power by displacing 5 liters of air and fuel on every combustion cycle. After the 3.5 EcoBoost teardown, we moved to the Coyote. The difference was significant, but not as clean as the V8's reputation suggested it would be. And any honest assessment of this engine has to say that plainly. The intake valves. Start with what the Coyote does right. Port injection. The 5.0 sprays fuel into the intake port on every intake stroke, directly over the valve face. That fuel washes the valve clean on every cycle, carrying away deposits before they can accumulate. At 200,000 miles, the intake valve condition on the Coyote was meaningfully better than what we found on the 3.5 EcoBoost. Nowhere near the threshold where walnut blasting becomes necessary. Port injection is older technology than direct injection. At 200,000 miles, that older technology is the difference between valves that are clean and valves that need a shop visit to restore airflow. That one advantage alone eliminates one of the 3 major cost items that hit the 3.5 at the same mileage. The real weaknesses. Now for what the Coyote doesn't do perfectly, because it doesn't. The VCT system, variable cam timing on both camshafts, showed measurable timing chain stretch and cam timing wear at 200,000 miles. The timing chain condition on this unit was something a shop would note as worth monitoring going forward. The wear was less severe than the phaser wear on the 3.5 EcoBoost, but it was present and it deserves an honest mention. Some third-generation Coyote owners have reported oil consumption issues, and Ford has addressed certain related concerns in service communications. The unit on our bench showed oil consumption in a range most technicians would call manageable, but it was present, not absent. If you own a high-mileage Coyote and you're not checking your oil between changes, start. These are real concerns. The 5.0 is not the flawless, maintenance-free engine its reputation sometimes suggests. The VCT wear and oil consumption on certain builds are documented issues, and at 200,000 miles they were visible on the bench. What they are not is the layered complexity of a high-mileage twin-turbo direct-injection engine. The Coyote's problems at 200,000 miles are fewer, simpler, and less expensive to address than what the 3.5 showed us. The naturally aspirated architecture meant the Coyote spent 200,000 miles making power without building boost pressure. No intercoolers failing, no charge pipes cracking, no turbo bearings absorbing heat soak after every hard pull. The engine works within a narrower thermal range than the EcoBoost engines, and 200,000 miles in that narrower range produced a simpler wear picture, even with the real caveats that belong in any honest assessment. The 5.0 Coyote had taken the lead, but the margin was far smaller than anyone on the bench expected. Before we get to the engine that nearly stole this entire test, the Ford longevity blueprint is linked below. Maintenance patterns, service checkpoints, and the things I'd inspect on any high-mileage F-150 before small issues become expensive ones. Act 3. The 2.7 EcoBoost. The 2.7 EcoBoost is the engine most F-150 buyers choose when they're watching the monthly payment. Smaller displacement, lower sticker price, adequate towing for most real-world use. Not the Raptor engine, not the towing champion, the sensible option. The one that doesn't get argued about because it doesn't get respected enough to argue about. Nobody expected the cheapest engine in this test to challenge the winner. At 200,000 miles, that's exactly what happened. Start with something most 2.7 buyers don't know about the engine they purchased. The 2.7 EcoBoost uses a compacted graphite iron block, CGI, the same material used in heavy-duty diesel engines. Not aluminum. CGI is significantly stronger and more thermally stable than an aluminum block under sustained thermal cycling. The constant heating and cooling that every engine goes through across 200,000 miles of use. At 200,000 miles, the 2.7 block showed less concern for bore wear than an aluminum block engine might show under similar stress. The structural foundation of this engine, the part that everything else depends on, was in better condition than the larger EcoBoost at the same mileage. Ford put diesel-grade block material in their entry-level engine. Most buyers never know. The bench told us it mattered. The intake valves. The 2.7 uses direct injection, the same as the 3.5. That means the same carbon accumulation pathway. Fuel bypasses the intake valves. Crankcase vapors coat the backs. Deposits bake on over time. What we found on the bench was meaningfully lower carbon than the 3.5 showed. The deposits were visible, but far less advanced. The reason makes sense when you think about it. The 2.7 is a smaller engine running at lower absolute boost levels across most of its operating life. Less heat generated. Less blow-by volume moving through the PCV system. Less oil vapor reaching the intake valves on every cycle. The accumulation rate appeared genuinely lower than what the larger twin-turbo engine produces over the same mileage. The deferred maintenance cost that was waiting behind the 3.5 at 200,000 miles was not waiting at the same level behind the 2.7. The turbocharger, the finding nobody expected. Now for the finding that surprised everyone on the bench. The 2.7 uses a twin-scroll single turbocharger. One unit instead of the twin-turbo setup on the 3.5. At 200,000 miles, the turbo bearing condition on the 2.7 measured closer to the naturally aspirated 5.0 Coyote than to the 3.5 EcoBoost. That was the single most surprising finding of the entire test. The engine we expected to finish last on turbo condition finished within range of the engine that has no turbocharger at all. Part of that result belongs to the engineering. One bearing surface instead of two. Lower absolute boost levels across the service life. Less thermal stress on the engine oil feeding those bearings. But part of the result also belongs to how people use the 2.7. Here's something worth understanding. The 3.5 EcoBoost attracts owners who bought it specifically to tow. They're running sustained boost under heavy load on a regular basis. The 2.7 attracts owners who wanted a practical daily driver. 200,000 miles of daily commuting looks very different on a teardown bench than 200,000 miles of sustained towing load. The 2.7's result reflects both the engineering and the owner. The cam phasers and timing system on the 2.7 also showed less wear than the 3.5. The twin-scroll single-turbo system imposes less thermal stress on the engine oil than a twin-turbo setup, which means cleaner oil pressure reaching the phaser actuators across the full service life. Verdict: nobody expected the smallest engine in this test to finish this close to first place. The engine everyone bought to save money nearly won the entire test. Act 4, the final verdict. 3 engines. 3 different engineering philosophies. One outcome that was far closer than the reputation suggested. The 3.5 EcoBoost at 200,000 miles showed the most complex wear picture of the 3. Direct injection carbon, cam phaser wear, turbo bearing condition, layered problems that arrive together at high mileage and cost more to address in combination than any single system would in isolation. The 3.5 was still producing power when it came off the truck. The maintenance cost waiting behind that power output is what the teardown revealed. If you own a high-mileage 3.5 EcoBoost, this is not a reason to panic. It is a reason to have an honest conversation with a shop you trust about where your specific engine stands and what's coming. Deferred maintenance doesn't disappear. It accumulates interest. The 5.0 Coyote at 200,000 miles won this test. Not because it was flawless. The VCT wear is real, the oil consumption on certain builds is documented, and the timing chain deserves attention on any high-mileage unit. But the naturally aspirated architecture spent 200,000 miles without building boost pressure. Without accumulating the direct injection carbon the 3.5 cannot avoid, and without turbo bearings absorbing heat soak after every hard pull. Fewer systems working at high stress. A simpler wear picture at the same mileage. The V8 earned its reputation for long-term reliability on the bench. The 2.7 EcoBoost at 200,000 miles came closer to winning this test than anyone expected. The CGI block, the twin-scroll single-turbo, the lower absolute operating temperatures, and the typical real-world usage pattern of most 2.7 buyers combined to produce a wear picture that was meaningfully better than the larger EcoBoost, and surprisingly close to the naturally aspirated V8. The 2.7 is the people's engine of this test, not because it won, because it had no business finishing this close, and it did anyway. Here is the finding that may matter most. If outright durability is what you're measuring at 200,000 miles, the 5.0 Coyote wins this test. The naturally aspirated V8, with no turbos and port injection, keeping its valves clean, showed the simplest picture of the three. But if the metric is durability per dollar spent, accounting for the purchase price difference between the 2.7 and the engines it was tested against, the simpler maintenance picture, the CGI block material, and the wear we actually found on the bench, the 2.7 EcoBoost may be the most impressive engine Ford has built for the F-150 in the last 15 years. It will be the biggest finding of this entire test. If you want to know what to inspect and when on any of these engines before small problems become expensive ones, the Ford longevity blueprint is linked below. I'll see you in the next one.